Jackson Matheson, also known as Leftis, and I'm a calypsonian and string band music player from Carriacou. I support the games of the National Lottery Authority because culture benefits tremendously. Annually, the NLA supports the Carriacou and Petit Martinique Carnival, the Carriacou String Band Music Festival, and all regattas, among other activities. When I play the game of the NLA, I can see where my money goes, and it's an investment into our culture.
Yes, Grenada, when you play the games of the NLA, you enable us to invest in the skills and talents of our people in the areas of sports, culture, and nation building.
Good evening and welcome to another MTV Community Forum, and I'm your host Byron Campbell. Our co-host Chris Diali is not with us now. He may join us later, but for the time being, I'm going to have that conversation point of view with you, the audience, of course. So let me welcome you wherever you are, Facebook, YouTube, or MTV Community Forum. So this evening we have an interesting program. We're going to be dealing with sector agriculture. We have a regional specialist with us, technical specialist with us, because recently our sector has been very exposed, the whole question of food security and production and other matters. So second part of the program, we'll have that specialist with us, and stay with us. I hope you can join us for that segment. In the meantime, however, a couple of things I want to share with you. Interesting, I visited the market, St. George's Market, on Saturday morning. I was there before 6 early. I haven't been there in a long time, and I was pleasantly surprised with what I saw, starting with the variety. Of course, most of the vendors there were women, and I was impressed to see this, but the variety was quite good. Provisions in particular, all types, and the quantities and quality I thought was interesting and good. What I want to mention, though, I was actually looking for breadfruit because we were planning to make an oil dung, and there was no breadfruit in the market. Couldn't find any breadfruit. It was not until I hung around, and it was about close to 7 when someone drew my attention to a particular individual who brought in a couple of bags, maybe about 3 bags of breadfruit. But what I want to tell you was the price. Supply and demand worked. The market formula worked. I paid $60 for 4 breadfruit. It meant it was $15 for 1. It was excellent, but the point is, this is the most I've paid for a breadfruit, and people were rushing it. People were buying it at $15 for 1. So good for the market. It worked. Supply and demand. That was excellent. I want to congratulate all of MWAG, the Media Association. I want to wish all of the winners, in particular, congratulations. But all the practitioners, of course, and we call this sector of the media their fourth estate. And we want to congratulate them for their work and to encourage them to do the job that they're doing. It's a big deal because they bring to us, they question authority, and they bring to us, they let us know what's happening, whether it's through government or private sector, everywhere, internationally and elsewhere. So we want to congratulate them doing a good job, and all the winners for this year award. That's very good. I was hearing a matter, and it had to do with rainwater harvesting. It was a release from the GIS that indicated that the Planning Authority will be going around the island consulting with communities on the whole question of making rainwater harvesting mandatory. In other words, if you're going to be building a house, having rainwater facilities will be mandatory. You have to include it in the design and construction of your home. We should have been there already. Carrico has been doing this forever, actually. So for me, this is transformative. You know, this is excellent. This is a positive thing, particularly in the context of climate change. And we understand, in fact, I learned that St. Lucia is considering importing water from Dominica. It means already they're experiencing a severe drought, dry season, and we, Grenada, we are expected, at least that's the focus, that we're going to have the second part of the dry season is going to be very dry, and that is why they're warning about setting fires. And so the question of rainwater harvesting is crucial. I look forward to these consultations. I look forward to it making it mandatory. So that's transformative. Let's recognize it. Let's talk about it. The other thing is there's an ongoing fire at Perseverance. This fire it's happening where the used tires are stored, and there are thousands and thousands of tires there, 100,000 maybe more, but a lot. And this fire is disturbing from the point of view that it emits a very toxic stuff that is harmful for humans, and particularly in the surrounding area, Woodford, Bouchejo, Brizan, Concord, all these areas have been experiencing very, very bad air, polluted air. And so the question is, how did it start? I would say that greater security is required at the Perseverance site, at the solid waste facilities. We have to ensure that this doesn't happen. You know, it's very unbearable. People are getting sick. I know individuals who've had to vacate the community of Brizan as a result of the foul air in the area. So solid waste, we have to do better than this. We have to set up proper security to ensure that fires of this nature doesn't happen. This is crucial, particularly for the surrounding communities. And this I want to note. Well, of course, the big thing happening is, of course, the U.S.-Israeli-Iran war, because it is the U.S. and Iran and Israel that have launched this assault, this war on Iran. But making the news, in other words, you can see, if you look at BBC News, the headlines were stock market tumble as oil prices soars. And this is on BBC News, and this is a reality that we have. This is not only affecting the Gulf states, as we see, but this has the possibility, is already affecting the world, the global economy. The question is, what is the implication for small island developing states like ours? You know, the price of oil, energy, is going to it's affecting everything. Transportation, production, imports also. And the question is food, and the question is what preparation are we making? What are our leaders telling us about our preparation? What are they, how are we preparing for this? This could go anywhere. It could get very, very bad. This is not something for us to take for granted in terms of the implication for us, particularly as small islands, developing states. So I think that I would like to see a bit more discussions, a bit more communication from our leaders on the implications and particularly the preparation for what is likely to happen. We hope it doesn't, but it's already happening. So it's not a question of if we should prepare. We should be preparing for this, given the potential consequences, the potential fallout for the world in this instance. We have seen, the question of visas already come up, and we see that the UK has now imposed visa requirements on St. Lucians traveling to United Kingdom. Is this something that could happen to Grenada also? We don't know. But we see visa implications both for the UK and the United States and other countries. And the question is to what extent all of this is bearing on our immigration or migration policies that is operational. Something to look at, something to that we should be looking at. Also of interest is the Cuban medical brigades. We know that it's been terminated both by Guyana and Jamaica. I only learned tonight actually from the Minister of Legal Affairs here that Grenada does not have an existing agreement with Cuba, that ours would have expired since 2023. It's a long time ago, 2 to 3 years ago. So the question is, what arrangements were we operating under? But clearly Cuba's cooperation, medical cooperation in particular with the region, has been fundamental, critical for our health in these islands in particular. So any movement there is going to affect us unless we find other solutions. But related to that is, of course, where is Cuba presently in terms of the embargo and the restrictions of energy, oil in particular, that's imposed on them by particularly the United States. And what is the region doing? There is talk about mobilizing resources, but we should be moving much quicker than we are, I believe, given the relationship we have with Cuba, given Cuba's support to the region in the past and present. It is a time that we stand with Cuba. This is really important, and I look forward to learning more about the mobilization of resources, particularly energy resources for the Cuban people. We are hearing also about issues at the National Lottery Authority, alleged corruptions in that institution. We are saying that everything is alleged, there's no evidence, factual or otherwise there, but what is required in these instances, we have the proper investigation, the proper to determine exactly what is the situation, rather than having the public guessing and what we're seeing on social media, etc. So these are some of the points I would like to raise, and I will pause. We'll take a short pause now. When we come back, as I indicated to you earlier on, we're going to have with us Gregory Del Sol. He's the head of the Grenada arm of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation and Agriculture. And we're going to be having extensive discussion with him on all aspects of our agricultural sector. So stay with us. We will be right back.
Holy Natural Spring Water is a water for every occasion. On the field of sports, at your workplace, just open the bottle and savor the pure, refreshing taste. Holy Natural Spring Water is produced in Mamacan St. Andrews and is available in all sizes nationwide. To order, telephone 444-7654 or 533-7654. Holy Natural Spring Water, Grenada's purest bottled water.
My name is Liselle Walcott. I'm a staff nurse at the General Hospital for the past 16 years. At the Infection Control Department, we do surveillance for communicable diseases or hospital-acquired infections. We do outbreak investigations. So any issues we have, we would investigate it, find out the cause, and we would do recommendations and interventions to all relevant departments. Thus far, with Mount Sinai, we are looking at ways of improving hand hygiene. Hand hygiene has been proven to be one of the most important practices you could do to break the chain of infection. Working along with Mount Sinai, I foresee that it would be a very good thing for us. They are looking into the products that we use, the practices that we do. Going forward, we'll be able to achieve a very high level of compliance and safety across the board for everyone.
At Maitland's Motor Sales and Rentals, we sell engines for all makes of vehicles. Toyota GT Corolla 6-speed, Toyota MR2 and Evolution 3. We've got transmissions for Toyota Noah, 2.0 Suzuki Escudo, Toyota Corolla. Windscreens for Grand Vitara, 2 and 4-door Escudo, Toyota Corolla front and back, and Suzuki Escudo wheel covers. Also available are motor oil, oil filters, crystal headlights for Toyota Corolla, brakes for all makes of vehicles. We sell C16 and Q16 racing fuel. Special prices on oils and accessories for customers who purchase vehicles from us. You're never left undone because we source the part if we don't have it. Maitland's Motor Sales and Rentals, empowering people through mobility.
Welcome back, viewers, and to MTV Community Forum. And of course, I was saying earlier on that our co-host Chris Leali is not with us. He may join us later via Zoom, but in the meantime, we proceed. And this evening, we're talking about agriculture. And what I want to say is that agriculture has always been the backbone of Grenada's economy, from nutmeg, cocoa, sugarcane, fisheries, livestock. The sector has always shaped our rural communities, our culture, and our food security. But today the numbers are raising serious concern. Let me tell you, recent agricultural census data suggests that Grenada has lost roughly 20%, 1/5 of its agricultural land over the past decade. And about 1/3 of farms have disappeared. They no longer exist. The average age of the farmer is now approaching retirement levels, that is between 50 and 69, 70 plus. And large numbers are part-time farmers rather than full-time producers. At the same time, the Caribbean continues to depend heavily on imported food. CARICOM countries, let me tell you, spend more than $6 billion annually on food imports. And despite a regional commitment, CARICOM, to reduce their dependence by 25% in 2025, it didn't happen. So the target has now been pushed back to 2030. This raises a lot of fundamental questions. Are we losing the capacity to feed ourselves? Why is agriculture declining despite decades of policy discussions and developments? What role should technology, financing, and youth in particular play in rebuilding the sector? Tonight, we explore this question with Mr. Gregory Del Sol. He's a technical specialist with the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, an organization that works across the region to strengthen agricultural systems, productivity, and food security. Mr. Del Sol has extensive experience in agricultural planning and technical development here in Grenada and elsewhere, and tonight we ask him directly, where does Grenada agriculture stand today, and what must change if we are to secure our food future? Welcome, Brother Del Sol, to MTV Community Forum.
Thank you for having me, and good evening to you, and good evening to your many viewers, I guess, watching you via various mediums, social media, television. So it's good to be here to explore the whole issue of agricultural development in Grenada and the wider region.
I want to start with us, Del Sol. Tell us a little bit about the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture. What is this organization? What does this do? And I know it's called ICA. You know it by ICA. So tell us a bit about this institution.
Yeah. It's ICA for short. ICA is the Specialized Agricultural Organization or entity within the OAS system, the Organization of American States. And we provide technical support, technical cooperation across the hemisphere from, I think we're in 34 countries, from the United States all the way down to Chile in South America. The ICA delegation forms part of the wider OECS representation. Our main office is in St. Lucia. That's where our representative, Mr. Greg Rollins, that's where he sits. So we work directly with our main stakeholders in all of the countries, the Ministry of Agriculture, and with our other stakeholders so that we could bring technical support and sometimes material support in terms of building and developing the agricultural sector.
How long has ICA been operating in Grenada?
So ICA has been here since, I think, 45 years now.
45 years.
Yeah, I've been there 2.5 of those 45 years. So
Well, welcome, and very, very proud to know that ICA is doing this quality of work in the region. As I mentioned, CARICOM committed to reducing food imports by 25% in 2025, but that target has now been extended to 2030. Why did the region fail to meet this first deadline?
Well, I think some countries made greater progress than others, but I think we were starting from, I think probably the target was, I believe, a bit ambitious for many of the, especially the OECS countries, the smaller countries, because we have agricultural systems that I don't think are in a place to really impact the main sources of food import, meat, wheat, and some of these other big ticket items. So I think that was one of the issues, but also I believe that we did not have the requisite investment made in the sector to really achieve that goal.
So was it, I mean, some say it's a policy failure.
Yeah.
Some say it's a lack of financing, and some say simply that agriculture is no longer being treated as a strategic sector. I mean, where is it exactly?
If I were to pick one of the things that you mentioned, I would say it was from a financial point of view. I don't think the investments were made in the sector to really have that happen. Not that no investment was made, but not at the level necessary to achieve that kind of goal.
That kind of goal.
Yeah.
Because you talk about imports of over $6 billion in food every year, while we have thousands of acres of land remain idle across the region. So is this a policy contradiction? Is it?
I think when you look at the Caribbean, sometimes we look at it as one behemoth. It's not one. There are many. The different islands have different capacities. For example, we've been talking about the potential in Guyana. They have the landmass to, I think, produce enough food to really make an impact, not just on their own food security, but on the food security of the region. But again, you need, I think, a harmonized policy that strategically targets the sectors of each of those countries. And each of those countries might need different policy recommendations to make that happen. So I think that was the crux of it. We did not provide the financing, and two, the policy recommendations specific to all the different countries, because they are different. They are different capacities. They are different levels of development in the agricultural sector across the region. And yes, it's a laudable goal to have, but you have to put the systems in place to actually make that, even a realistic one.
So from ICA's regional perspective, which countries in the Caribbean are actually making, in your view, any real progress in agricultural transformation, and what lessons can Grenada learn from them?
Okay, in terms of, when you look at, to bring it back to the OECS, in terms of agricultural contribution to the GDP of these various OECS countries, St. Vincent has made quite some headway.
Okay.
I think last I checked, their agriculture provides about 15 to 20% of their GDP.
Wow, we are down to 5.
We are down to about 4.5,
5.
Yeah. Dominica, I think, is at 15% as well.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
But I think one of the issues, and I think to bring it back home to Grenada, I think we have had Grenada has a more, I would say, diverse or diversified economy.
Yeah. You mean like tourism is more
developed, more established,
sector.
and the service sectors as well.
Yeah.
So I think a lot, again, of the investment have gone that way.
Rather than agriculture or food. So that's interesting. So let's move to look at those numbers from the recent agricultural census, because this was only published last month, actually.
Last month.
So it's new, it's happening now. And here are the numbers, 3 quick numbers. 20% decline in agricultural lands. 20%, that's 1/5. That's a lot, right? Secondly, 1/3 we lost. A third of our farms. It means that farms that were operational, functioning, are no more. A third, 33%. And the other critical number is the question of the most aging farmer. How serious is this situation
I think
for you?
what we see in the 2023 census is really a continuation of what we saw from 95 to 2012 and now to 2023 in terms of the diminishing of the agricultural lands or lands
Right.
under agricultural production.
Yes.
Again, one of the things we have to address and we must look at that is the whole issue of the land policy. Grenada is a small country and there's a lot of competing interests for
You're talking about the land use policy here.
talking about land use policy,
Right.
right? That is something we have had to address and we haven't really addressed that. There's a huge demand for housing. Some of the agricultural lands have gone that way. If you take you drive around places like Willis in St. George, northeast, northwest, you would see areas that were, say, 20, 30 years ago, were highly agricultural. Right now, there's a lot of those lands are no longer in agriculture. So that is one thing that we have to look at, our land use policy, because because the trend has been the diminishing of agricultural lands.
So let's stay with there for a minute. The question of the absence of a land use policy. You, for a number of years, were involved in policy, I would say, at the technical aspect in the Ministry of Agriculture. My information is that there were an initiative to develop such a policy.
There was actually a draft policy.
There was a draft policy.
Yeah, but when the government would have changed, they would have said that there was a need to revise that policy. So I think it went back. So it did not get the approval that it needed to go forward.
So, and what we're saying here is that that's one of the contributing factor for the loss or the decline of agricultural land.
That's
so, for
a
example,
major factor.
if the government would have taken how much acres was taken for the new hospital, I think?
About 90
acres. So this 90 acres was prime agricultural lands. And without a policy designating what these lands for, it can go to anything. So it can go to hotel, to tourism, it can go to medical, it can go to anything. And that's the case with any other lands because none of our lands are designated.
No.
So that's a major, like a policy failure we've had over the years.
Yeah. But I think, though, that one of the things we can do in the absence of a clear land use policy is to have, I think, greater incentives to keep lands that are agricultural in agriculture.
What kind of incentives?
So, for example, if you look at the 2023 census, you would see that a lot of the farms that were, say, between 10 and 15 acres, you would see a diminishing of the number of those size of farms.
Those contribute to the 1/3 that we lost.
Yeah, those contribute. And in that area, you saw a very steep decline from go back to 81 census to where we are now. You will see that farmlands or farms of 10 acres or greater have been seriously declining. Put it that way. The numbers of those farms have been declining.
They've been put into other use. Both been put into other use.
They've been put into
and being
other
abandoned
use.
because that one farm's lost. It doesn't necessarily mean the lands, but the persons are no longer involved in farming, and that's where we have the aging.
But there's something else we have to look at.
Yes.
While the amount of agricultural land is being reduced or is reducing.
Yes.
The amount of lands we have left, a substantial portion of that is still left abandoned. That is where the incentive regime comes in.
So that's where the other numbers come in. We see the aging farmer. We see the farmer, the average age between 50 plus.
Yeah.
And the question, therefore, is what kind of policies are required to. But the question is, are we losing our farming culture entirely? I mean, because you said that from 1995, this has been trending.
It's been trending in that direction.
So if we don't have we don't wake up, we would lose this. You know, we're losing more.
No, we definitely have to, I guess, as you use the right word, wake up to the realities that we're facing in terms of the agricultural sector.
Yeah.
But when we wake up, we have to have plans as to how we stop that slide or stop that decline.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something again about the aging farmers population.
Yes.
I think there are two things there.
Right.
In terms of the tree crop farmers, yes, the age is pretty high.
Yeah.
But when you look at the short crop farmers, they are quite a
Young farmers.
young people.
That's where
involved.
they're coming in.
That's where they're coming
But one of the numbers is that the majority of farmers are part-time operators rather than commercial enterprises.
Yeah.
So the question is, can part-time farming realistically support national food security?
I think it's a kind of yes and no on that one, because some of the part-time farmers are what we call professionals, and they have agricultural lands, and so I think the definition of that part-time word has to be, I think, clarified, because there are people who are...
It means you're not doing it full-time.
They're not doing it
part-time.
is it that is part of the work that they do? Some people might be in banking and they have some farming
But
work.
interesting, because you know what the survey also says?
Yeah.
It says that the qualification of the farmers have increased significantly.
Yeah,
You know, it's
again,
higher
because
education.
you have a lot of
degrees.
professionals in the farming sector.
Let's say go to we're going to stay in the report a little bit, Gary.
Yeah, for sure.
And so the poultry sector has been one of the few areas showing growth, while other sectors, such as livestock, in terms of to be
Ruminants.
specific, ruminants, small
Yeah.
ruminants, sheep, goat, pigs, have been diminishing. Why is this so? Why is this struggle in the other sectors?
I
Do you
think,
see?
well, poultry is our main meat.
Yeah.
Is the main source of protein in the country,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's a huge part of our food import bill.
Yeah.
So I think there's been a bit more attention given to there, and there's been, over the last 5 years, I would say, 2 major investments in the poultry sector. The one you have in Felix Park in Croshu, and the one you had at Montrose in St. Patrick. So I think that contributed to the numbers. And there are a lot more small operators as well in the poultry space, because there is a real need, there is a real demand, put it that way, for poultry meat. And that's an area that we could really make a dent in with the right investments.
Poultry. Well, recently, sometime last year, maybe it's about a year now, the government invested in importing hybrid livestock, goats, pigs, sheep. But I'm to understand it's not yet being distributed. There might have been some casualties also, and farmers who, livestock farmers who would apply, told to reapply. What do you think is responsible for the delay? And I mean, it's a good initiative, but
No, I think it's an excellent
where is it?
initiative because I was at the ministry when that project was being
that's a World Bank?
designed as a World
World
Bank
Bank,
project.
yeah.
So I was at the ministry at the time.
Yeah.
And the idea was an excellent one,
Yeah.
because we had some issues, especially in the pig and ruminant sector, where you had a lot of what they would call, over the years we had not replenished our stocks. So there was inbreeding, a degradation of
Yes,
the
particularly in Carriacou, I saw it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the government felt that was an excellent opportunity to improve our stock, bring in new breeds, put it that way, to augment the existing stock of ruminants and pigs on the island. I think where we might have failed, and sometimes not casting aspersions or criticisms per se, but where we fail sometimes is in the planning of some of those things. That we don't put all of the ducks in a row before actually executing certain activities. And I think that was where it might be more like of a policy planning type failure than anything else.
Than the actual stock that we
Than the
received.
stock.
you
No, we
know.
brought in excellent.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So it's about time now that we look at distribution.
So we look at
and
distribution,
so
but I
forth.
think we need to also design a proper livestock plan and policy and action plan for that sector. From my own personal experience, I think there are lessons we could learn even from like places like Cuba.
Yeah.
When back in before this struggling period that they're going through, that what they had were, you have some farmers that are exclusively breeders, some that are finishers, and you have a chain of
It was you had specialization.
specialization across
Interesting.
the thing. I think that is the direction I think we need to go.
Okay, that's
So
more structured.
That's
yeah.
more structured.
So,
you
so
know.
if you want to go and you have breeds that are available,
So-
you can purchase. Yeah.
So you have farmers, and because we are a small country, the
Yeah.
government plays an important role in this, especially in these OECS countries, because we don't have large private sector as you would have in
Yeah.
Jamaica, or you have
Yeah.
in Trinidad, or even in Guyana. So what we need to do is the government could be, along with some other farmers, be specifically breeders.
Mm-hmm.
And there are farmers, all they do, they go and buy some animals, fatten them and kill them for
Exactly. Yes.
And
That's what they're into.
I think that is what you need, that kind of specialization in it. Because if you want to grow animal, you have to breed the other, yeah, I think you're basically, I would say, wasting resources.
Exactly.
So I think
It's
that
like
is
it's
one
like
of the
you
ways
it's
we
like you're
should go.
dealing with dogs or any other animals.
Yeah.
You're breeding to
There are guys
sell.
that are just breeding.
To sell,
Just
yeah.
to sell.
To sell,
You know,
yes.
they buy animals, they finish, they fatten,
Yeah.
they finish,
Yeah.
and they.
Because clearly, when you look at the volume of meats we imported, you know,
Yeah, I
it's-
mean,
it's,
that's our main. That's the biggest part of the food import
food
bill.
import bill.
you
That's
know,
correct.
Poultry and meats.
Yeah. Well, we are talking about the youth in agriculture, of course, because given the age of the farmers, we need to see more young people coming out. We've known that there are a number of youth training program, agricultural training program for young people. I mean, in fact, recently there was a new group that graduated, but we don't hear much about what happens next after the graduation. Are these young people entering production? Are we simply training them and losing them to other sectors? We're not hearing. What do you think if we're going to really get young people, more young people? The training, yes, but what are the other factors that should be introduced so that they stay in the sector?
Youth in agriculture is a big thing for us at ICA.
Yes.
We've been
Yeah.
we've been trying to push the whole idea of getting more young people involved in the agricultural sector. But to get young people involved in anything, it cannot just be you teach me how to do certain things. There needs to be a gradation, I would say,
Yes.
of the program.
Yeah.
So there has to be incentives there has to be financing, there has to be, a lot of young people lack access to land. And those who have lands, they have other challenges. Like I was speaking to a couple young farmers maybe a couple weeks ago. And one of the issues that some of them have, some basic issues, need of pump for irrigation. So all of this they need some tangible help to take them from one point to the other. The training only takes you so far, but you need resources to use that training. And I think that's one of the things that we fall down on in terms of assisting young people to enter the sector and stay in it.
What about social attitudes, though, towards agriculture? Is that a hindrance to it? Is it still a factor?
I think that's a factor, but a lesser one than it was before. I think young people, if you could show them where there's money and you provide them with the support to make money, I think they will stay in the sector.
One of the factors you mentioned is land. And I know some time ago the government state was pursuing a land bank, and this would work on the basis where persons own lands, and it is leased to the land bank. The land bank then leases it out to farmers. In other words, this was clearly managed. What's the state of that? Any knowledge about this initiative? What do you know about it?
Well, I was in the ministry when we started to roll that project out.
Right.
And again, a good initiative. There were 2 pilot land bank sites that were established, one at Grand Bacolet, I think, and one at Diamond in St. Mark. And there were some young people given leases for those lands. But I think where we fell down again is, for example, in the Grand Bacolet site, there are other things that we needed to do there. So you gave the young people the lease, but there was a need to have some sort of irrigation in there. You needed to address the road issue. So yes, we did part of it, but we did not follow through in the way that we needed to follow through. Because, I mean, again, I have conversation with a lot of young people. Some of the persons who got those leases, they're not actually utilizing them because there were the things that had to be put in place to give them that push, put it that way. Yeah, you give them the land,
Motivation,
but if the
yeah.
road is not good,
Yes.
there's no water, or there's water, but the access in the water. So you got to give the young people a kind of suite of support, and without that, it doesn't really go. It doesn't really fly.
The strategy of a lot of emphasis being placed on the 4-H movement, which is introducing the concept of agriculture to persons when they're very young, primary school, because it's alleged that early introduction, creating an interest there, can last. You know, you think this is an area we should invest in?
That's an area we need to give
Yeah.
greater level of support.
Yeah.
Because not just to pique their interest at a very young age, but the agriculture in school also plays another role. It's supposed to be a school feeding program. So if we strengthen those programs, we could affect that. But it also, if we provide the kind of resources to the 4-H program, I think you will have, they will be able to do a greater number of things and spur even greater interest among the young people in the agricultural sector. So 4-H is, we've tried to provide support to, especially for the poultry program.
Yes.
So we will have given some chicks and feed.
Okay. ICA, that is.
ICA, that is, in collaboration with the ministry as well.
Yeah.
Because we also, like I said earlier, our main stakeholder, our main partner is the Ministry of Agriculture. So all that we do,
Part of it, just to explore with you, is the question of the infrastructure, because this is always important. You touch on it, Rose. But here, let's be a little more specific. Farm access roads. We are a fairly mountainous island, and if we, particularly with tree crops, you need a lot of our farms are accessible by farm access, farm roads, or feeder roads as they're called sometimes. Some farmers complain that in a long time, 4 years, some 5 years, there's been zero maintenance. I mean, the roads are almost abandoned, and they indicate that this is a hindrance to production. What do you think about the level of resources that are presently being directed to this sector, the question of infrastructure and rural farmers, and how important is it?
Yeah, if we're speaking particularly on farm access roads, road work is expensive work.
Yes.
And I know the government the Ministry of Agriculture would have made some effort to address some of these roads, especially under the last World Bank Food Security Project. I don't think all of them were done, but suffice to say, if I were to add one thing, I know they did a couple programs with the Nutmeg and Cocoa Association, where they were partnering with them to address some of the roads that affect their producers.
Yeah.
I think we should kind of go back to that sort of arrangement, where the GCNA and the government would provide them with the resources, and they would do some of the road work necessary. Because some of the roads doesn't need major work. Some of them is just some grading,
some maintenance,
drainage, overhangs, drainage, and you could address, some of those roads. And I think we should tackle those there are roads that need greater level of infrastructure work, but those roads that need basic ones, I think we should try and maintain those roads.
Of course, you work in the ministry clearly from a technical point of view, but one of the issues the ministry faced, Grenada Ministry of Agriculture, over the years, was a lack of succession planning. In other words, the ministry arrived in a position where there weren't personnel to fill the various positions, whether it was a chief agricultural officer, major positions that had to be left vacant. And what we've seen, what farmers are saying, the qualification of the extension officers now, the accessibility of the extension officers is wanting. What is your view? I mean, that the resources or the investment in extension, do you think it's adequate? What is your view on it, you would say?
I would say a couple of things. There were a couple of things that affected the ministry from a technical standpoint. One, we had a lot of the frontline, experienced extension persons and other persons living around the same time. I think if you look at between 2012 and 2022, I think that was the mass exodus of our people
From the ministry.
from the ministry. A lot of our main technicians, or technically,
Retired.
some person they retired, they left. Then we had, you remember, from 2013 to about 2018, we had the structural adjustment program.
Yes.
We had the attrition policy.
So
That
how
affected
that worked
somewhat-
again? You
It was 3 for 10.
3 for 10.
Yeah.
So
but it was
so-
3 for 10 across the public
Right,
service.
yeah.
Not
So
the-
every 10 persons leaving, you could only bring in
you could only
3.
bring in 3. And it
So you
wasn't-
think, yeah.
And it wasn't always, if 10 people leave the Ministry of Agriculture, we were going to get 3, because it was
That
a policy across the...
That was a major flaw.
It was needed. I mean, we were at a place economically
Yeah.
as a country where we needed to make some,
So
some
that-
cuts.
this factor
But that
contributed.
it did contribute significantly.
So
to
where
it.
are we now? What's your assessment of...
I think we're trying to build again. I know this the ministry has sent quite a few persons. I think we have some people studying in Guyana now to build capacity. I know there's been a series of shorter term trainings happening for the extension persons. I think there are some other how would I put it? There are some other personnel issues that need
Yes,
to
yes,
be
to be
addressed as well
addressed,
for the
yes,
extension
yes,
persons.
yes.
And I think there's a process going on.
I mean, based on my knowledge and because I do interface with the ministry as a farmer myself, and some of the feedback I'm getting is that about pay level, remuneration,
Yeah.
So this might be some of the
Transportation.
thing, transportation, some of the
Yeah.
issues. If we're gonna get the level of productivity from these individuals, because I, for one, involved in projects of an agricultural nature, was I felt strongly that the level of remuneration was inadequate.
Yeah.
It was not sufficiently a motivation
Yeah.
to get these young persons. Many of them were very qualified and were not paid adequately to do their work in terms of the level of responsibilities. Only last week, we celebrated International Women's Day, and we recognize the contribution of women. Of course, relating to this is the whole question of gender-based violence. I'm not going to go there, but I'm just going to say that we need to, as men, boys, we need to have a different perspective, respect, I should say, for women. But I want to look at women in agriculture here. And across the Caribbean, that's all, women play a growing role in agriculture and agro-processing, the extension of it. But are policies truly supporting women farmers, or are they still operating largely in the informal sector? Are they really integrated here?
I think policy-wise, yes, there's been great emphasis to support women in agriculture.
Yeah.
If you look at all projects that come within the sector, there's always, for example, just to cite one example,
Yeah.
when we were doing the AgriCom project,
Yes.
25% of the beneficiaries had to be women.
So you had targets.
So you have
Yeah.
targets. So I think there's been some movement in that regard
Yeah.
to support women.
Yeah.
I think from the census you will see
Yeah.
though
Yeah.
that the women own less lands.
Less lands, and
And
they're
and
aging
they-
faster.
And they're aging fast as well.
That's correct, yeah.
The agro-processing sector is dominated by women.
By women.
But I think we need to have
So
more.
let's give them a round of applause
for
on this,
sure.
you know? Absolutely.
And not just in the food part of the agro-processing,
Yeah.
but the non-food part, the
Yeah.
persons involved in oils and creams and soaps and that sort of
Yes.
thing, dominated
They're the
by
ones
women.
doing the work. They're the ones doing the
They're
work
doing
there.
excellent work there.
Yeah. We need to recognize them here. for this.
But again,
Yeah.
I think we need to do a couple of things as well.
Yeah.
You would hear over the years that we do good policies, we do strategic plans for this sector. But sometimes I don't think we stick to those plans and we implement the things that we write down. So in terms of like the National Agricultural Plan, there speaks to a lot of things related to women and women involvement in agriculture and concrete recommendations for how do we improve that situation. So we have the I think the policy and the actions written down.
Yeah.
We just need to do a better job at but in spite of that, there are quite a few women doing excellent work in agriculture.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's why we're using the opportunity here to congratulate them.
Yeah.
And related to this are the vendors.
vendors, both in the
That's an important role, you know.
both in the
and-
vegetable market,
exactly.
the fish market, they
And
dominate
as I
it as well.
mentioned earlier, going to the market on Saturday morning and
Yeah.
you see these women
It's-
with large amounts and variety and was good quality.
Yeah.
I was truly impressed, you know. That's all. I want to move on to technology and AI and modern agriculture. So globally, agriculture is being transformed. We agree with that. Let's call it precision farming, using artificial intelligence, drones, and digital marketing systems. So the question is Grenada keeping pace with modern agricultural technology, or are we still operating largely in the traditional system? Where are we?
It's funny you mentioned that. Last year we had, as ICA, we had this symposium on digitization in agriculture. And how we could bring innovation through digitization in the sector. I don't think we're doing enough.
Yeah.
For example, I've been just mulling over this because I saw it in a couple places, even I think in Costa Rica, in Antigua and Barbuda, where we have a pest management unit and we have a spray team there. I think if we could make the investment in drone spraying, I mean, it's not new technology. You could train some young people, get them excited, and you make some investment in some drones, and you could have them doing the spraying for the soursop farmers like yourself or other farmers. Yeah, and you could do more precision type, you know, they could fly them at different levels. So I think some of these things we need to get more, and I think additionally, I think the ministry as an entity, working with its partners, the FAOs, the ICAs, should come up with a policy on digitization in agriculture.
Yeah.
We talk about hydroponics and aquaponics. I don't think we've made enough investments in that area. We've tried a bit in terms of green shade houses production. So I know under the G-Cruise project, they've brought in quite a few shade houses. I know under the World Bank project itself, the ministry brought in quite a few of those. I think some of them are being erected now and set up. I really see that there's another project called the CARICOM Boost project. I think they're also going to be investing in some young people in shade house technology. We need to perfect it though, make sure we have the proper training for the persons who are going to use them. We bring in the proper seeds because and inputs for producing on the shade house environment. So
we recently, the government of Grenada recently decriminalized marijuana, cannabis. But the government has been talking about a cannabis industry. From an agricultural perspective, do you see what's the potential you see here?
Well, as ICA, we stay away from that particular.
You don't see it as a crop?
No, we know it's a plan, but from a hemispheric level, you know, different members have different approaches to the whole issue of cannabis. So we do not.
So you're not going to provide any technical support to the government of Grenada, to Grenada.
We can.
You know, cannabis industry.
Not that we are not. We can't. That's a different thing. So we can.
I love this
so especially when you look at our biggest neighbor north.
So you can't answer the question then?
No, I mean it's an opportunity. There is real opportunity there, but we as an institution we can't really provide insight or support in that area.
Okay. Yeah. Well, sure, fine, but so I'll move on.
But it's an opportunity for the country.
For the country.
And I will say from a personal standpoint, just in terms of some of our young people not having records.
So the government is aware that ICA don't support any technical support on cannabis.
Yeah, we don't have a written policy because we have the 34 members have different policies
so you
and
stay
things.
out
So
of
we,
it
as an
altogether.
entity,
Unless the region.
Unless it becomes a harmonized thing and it's across the region, then
Grenada has experienced major agricultural damage from hurricanes like Ivan, Emily. Climate change is increasing risk. The question is our farming system being destroyed, being redesigned to become climate resilient, or are we rebuilding the same vulnerable systems? Where do you see we're going?
we've been trying to do some things in terms of making us more resilient. I think right now they have changed it. A lot of people, institutions have changed the terminology. So it's now weather adapting to weather shock. See, the major powers change the terminology a little bit. But in terms of just making our agricultural sector more resilient as a whole, there has been some work done. And you would know that we had this whole project we call SIAP.
Yes.
We had other initiatives, even the World Bank project, and moving in towards more shade house production. All of these are part of a wider position, wider plan for making us more resilient to climate change. More has to be done. Talked about rainwater harvesting earlier on. That is one of the things we need to address, because irrigation capacity is a major issue here. One of the projects that we are currently doing now as ICA, and it's a project that has been long in coming. It's supporting there are quite a few farmers operating out of the La Poterie area down there. And one of their main issues is water. So we have a project partnering with the Global Water Partnership Caribbean to bring water down to those farmers. I think it's about 70-something acres of land being operated there by a number of farmers to bring water to them. So all of these issues, irrigation, shade house production, some of these things we need to expand further in terms of making us more resilient.
I am concerned about the amount of water we have. I look at our streams. You look at like the Woodford, the Perseverance stream. It's a trickle.
It's a trickle.
It's down. And if we're going to be drawing a lot from the Concord Falls to the south in the dry season, it's not going to be much left there. That's all. I'm kind of worried about that.
That's why we have to really look at equipping farmers to probably take advantage of harvesting water, probably having some of these micro dams. We need to.
Can we learn anything from Carriacou? Who they have a system of building dams and cisterns and.
At the household level, definitely.
But even at the community level, where they have these ponds, many of them, I looked at them, or looking at them, considering reestablishing some of them. So it's excellent. I mean, there are ideas that we have used and worked well for us, you know. One of the other
one of the things we need to do, though, is get, especially for vegetable people, because they use a lot of the water. Short crop farmers. One of the things we need to explore a little bit more is the whole issue of drought-tolerant plants.
Yes, exactly.
We need to plants that utilize less water.
Less water.
There are excellent varieties being tested across the globe. We need to probably introduce.
So would ICA provide this kind of technical
input? We are open to providing that sort of, because,
input.
For example, there's an partner institute of ICA called Cartier. It's a agricultural research center. They do a lot of work on that sort of things, not just in terms of drought-resistant plants, but also plants that, for example, they're doing a new variety of coffee that grows in lower lands, because coffee is usually a higher belt.
Higher.
So they're doing work. So I think we need to explore more of those sorts of things.
One of the big issues too, so is labor shortages. Many farmers, I know, cannot find labor, even with the new, they're willing to pay up to $100 and can't find labor. Is agriculture, in your view, is it facing a labor crisis, and what kind of solution do you see?
That's one of the major issues in the sector. Not just finding labor, but finding the kind of labor that requires suitable labor, trained labor. Just from a personal point of view, I think one of the things we need to look at, the government has this farm labor support program. I think one of the things we can do, especially for young people, is train them and set up some of those labor gangs that a farmer could reach out to. He set up a few companies, small. Then the farmer could go reach out to these people, and they pay at the cost, obviously, and they come and provide you with some of the labor. I think it will be a more structured program.
There's been talk also we can bring in labor from Haiti, Cuba, from other places that are experiencing surplus labor, Is there something as a country we should consider in your view?
It's something we should consider, but carefully consider. Because with some other things do come. I was listening to the radio the other day, and there was talk about how we have a lot more Venezuelans, Cubans, Filipinos in this country, and there's a lot of discussion around them taking jobs, and it's not highly skilled jobs from locals. So I mean, there are social issues that you have to wrap your mind around as well. But I see it as something that we could pursue, we could think about as well, because labor is a major issue for the farming community. I mean, you hear it all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And I raise it with you. We touched on the value added. I'm recognizing that mostly women are involved in this important subsector, but we still export most of our cocoa, nutmeg, and spices. Much of the real profit globally comes from value-added processing. We know that. Well, why have we struggled to build strong agro-processing industries in Grenada? We've really struggled.
We've had a lot of small people involved.
Yeah.
So this whole level of economies of scale and capital as well has been a challenge. We've made real strides in the chocolate area. I think we have right now, there's something we need to relook. We need to relook cocoa as a crop that we are growing here, just from a primary production level. Because you talk to some of the chocolatiers, and they will tell you, especially those who do organic cocoa, they will tell you that there is a reduction in production of cocoa. So we need to revisit that as well. But I would say in terms of agro-processing, one of our main issues has been scale. We have a lot. We have a lot of small people involved in. And can you take, let's say I would say we have about 200 or 300 probably agro-processors.
Yeah, it's a lot, but they're very
all
small.
Of them, but they're very small. One of the things we really need to look at is the whole issue of aggregation. Even if it's not in terms of your product, but how do we aggregate in terms of labeling and packaging material? How do we work together from those clusters? I think we have to revisit that.
And we've been talking certainly about food security, but if Grenada truly wants to improve food security, what 3 major policy changes you'd recommend? Immediately.
No, immediately, one of the first things I would recommend, you cannot have a one-size-fits-all for the farming community. And it's something I've always said, we need to have a differentiated approach for different farmers. It's not all farmers that need, say, a couple bags of fertilizer. Different needs. And we have farmers at a certain level. I think you have the larger farmers who produce the bulk of the food. We need to have a differentiated structure for them. And then where most of the resources should go. I'm not saying forget the subsistence farmers. I'm not saying forget the small farmer. I'm saying that there has to be a policy decision taken that we are going to provide. Most of our resources are going to target the larger producers.
Economies of scale.
If you really want to drive production, I think that would be my first policy decision.
Second one,
I would definitely look very closely in terms of, I would call it, not mechanization, digitization of the sector. We need to focus more on there. I was talking earlier about the whole issue of drone spraying.
Yes, right, exactly. Make a difference.
Let's incentivize people.
The productivity will just shoot up.
Will increase. And I think we need to really look at the whole issue of incentives to keep lands in agriculture, because we see the diminishing of lands, agricultural lands, census after census. What is going to be in the census of 2033?
So if nothing changes in the next 10 to 15 years, the trend continues, what will Grenada agricultural sector look like?
Well, first of all, I believe some things are going to have to change. So I'm not gonna say that it's not that, because if it doesn't change, we're gonna be in a worse off position 10 to 15 years from now. So I'm saying there are definite changes that have to come. Some will be forced upon us, but
that's all. Many experts, many people say that food security is national security.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we had, if you remember, COVID, the 9/11. So they said this is national security. In a world facing climate shocks, supply chain disruption, as we're seeing now with the Gulf, with the war, and geopolitical tensions that we're seeing now, you factor all of this. How urgent is it for Grenada to rebuild this agricultural sector?
I think it was urgent 10 years ago. I think it's more urgent now.
How urgent is it?
Very, very. I think just in terms of some of the staple crops, one of the things I think we need to do as a country, sometimes I think we want to have 20 priorities. We can't really have 20 priorities. I think we focus on some 4, 5, or 6 of them, and over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, provide the resources, the incentives to really push those. Roots and tubers, you look around. You know, I think I bought a sweet potato the other day for $11. One.
Didn't come from St. Vincent?
No, it didn't come from St. Vincent. There's a local one. So we need to really prioritize a few sectors that really can address the whole issue of food security. And roots and tubers is one. We need to really pay keen attention to. I think some of the vegetables like carrots, when you look at what we do produce locally, it's excellent quality, but it's just not sustained. We need to focus on that. And I think that to give the ministry some credit, that is one of the reasons why I think they're really moving to shade house production, so we could really increase the whole vegetable production that's fair. And
we are out of time. Let me get you over to make a closing statement here.
no, it was, I appreciated the opportunity to come here and to discuss some of the issues affecting the agricultural sector. Even if it's 5% of our GDP, it's still a very important 5%. And I think that 5% does translate to something like $300 million. And we talk about fishery. We didn't talk about fish.
Fisheries, fisheries,
another
of
issue
course,
that
because
we need to
we were out of that, but this is clearly important.
So 300 million.
The blue economy, and we know that the government recently.
CMOS is one of the things that we're trying to focus on as well. We're trying to do some work in collaboration with FAO and ICA and the ministry and the OECS Secretariat. I think they were here some weeks ago. And the OECS governments have given CMOS, they want to give CMOS a more prominent place in
and that's an important sector to include in the food security formula. Critical. You know, I mean, the bottom line is that we have to produce more food. We have to reduce our food import bill.
No, for sure.
And it will take all of us on board and certain policy.
We didn't get to that point, but one of the other things we need to look at is the whole issue of this whole public-private partnership on some of the major things. We have some sizable poultry initiatives going on. I think the government need to partner with some of them to really
make it viable. Or at least more viable.
Or more viable. You know, and increase the production. Because we have been stuck at 11% thereabout.
What are we now?
I think we're about 11, 12%.
I thought it was more.
No. We're about 11 or 12% of the total amount of poultry consumed. We produce about 11 to 12%, no more than that, of it locally. The bulk of it comes from. So I think there's a real opportunity to make a dent there, but there has to be again, the government plays a big role in this small economies. So I think partnering with some of the initiatives going on is something that we should really give, you know.
Thank you about that. So that's all the time we have. Thank you very much. And I hope you'll come back.
Anytime you want to have me.
Thank you. Certainly pleasure. Viewers, that's all the time we have. Let me thank you on behalf of the MTV technical staff and yourself for being with us this evening. We'll see you, and hopefully Chris will be here with us next week. Chris, hello. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.